Hello and welcome to the Comedy Slab. It's episode 158. I am Adrian Racy in the southeast of England. He claims to be Shane O'Connor, although there is no proof thereof. All of which, of course, is neither here nor there. It's more there than here. But anyway, he's up there, I'm down here, and you are here, which is fantastic. So on the notional slab of comedy on which we put a different show each week, TV, radio, or podcast, or otherwise digital. This week we've got a BBC Radio 4 show called The Shuttleworths. It's being repeated at the time of speaking around now on BBC Radio 4 Extra. So you'll find it on BBC Sounds. And again, at the time of speaking, which is sort of nowish to us, maybe not to you, it is available for about a year. So hopefully plenty of opportunities to hear Graham Fellows performing as John Shuttleworth and one or two other characters as well. But we do like to start with a bit of comedy news, and we go to our correspondent up there, or down there if you're looking down from Scotland or Iceland. Yeah,
standing ever so by, yes.
Yes, well, Q.
It's good news as well. It's only just a quickie, but good news. Not so long ago, quite recently, we slabbed Mandy, the 15-minute episodes, weren't they? The 15-minute comedy from Diane Morgan. If you're not sure who Diane Morgan is, you'll if you ever watched the
Cunk Over Britain.
Yeah, well, she had her own. See, I was thinking before that with Charlie Brooker. She was one of the contributors in there, wasn't she? As Philomena Cunk, and she's finally got her own series. And that we slabbed the first series. Series 2 has been slated to return, so that's good, isn't it?
I think so. I wasn't quite as smitten as you, but hey, look, the more comedy's made, the better. And she's also in Motherland, where I think I actually preferred her than in Mandy. But hey, doesn't matter how you appreciate Diane Morgan, as long as you do appreciate her.
One of my favourite bits of physical comedy came from her when the Banana Boat song was playing, when she was whacking the tarantulas with a big mallet.
And she had a ciggy in her
She always had a ciggy in her mouth, didn't she? But yeah. But no, I liked it. So no, it's good. That's good news.
That is good news.
Pleased for her, really. And I forgot what the other thing was. What was the other thing?
What was the third thing? Well, you were going to watch. We slabbed last week. You put it on the slab. We take it in turns to set each other homework alternate weeks. But we slabbed Sky's Code 404, and you committed to watching more episodes, and you committed to me. I've got it on tape. People can hear it in last week's show that you would come back and report back on what you discovered in other episodes.
Well, it was really weird because I thought I'm going to have a bath before we record. And
that makes a change.
Yeah, I know. Well,
I didn't realise it was that time of year.
I'm sick of all the comments that you say to me. I know I can't really smell it from where I am, but you stink and all that stuff that you send me on WhatsApp. So I thought, I must do it. So I'm going to have a bath, and I thought, I always take my iPad. Do you take your iPad in the bath with you as well?
Well, A, I don't have an iPad, but B, because I'm so nervous about water getting into electronics, no, I would never do that in a month of months.
Oh, okay. I'm just like I've got that devil may care attitude. So anyway, I just jumped straight in with the iPad, and I thought, I've got to watch.
You actually put it underwater?
Jump straight. I thought, well, they say it's waterproof. We'll soon see, won't we? To a depth of 4 meters. I thought, well, my bath's not that deep. That's ridiculous. So I thought, I'll have a squint at episode 2 of Code 404, and I have to say, and I'm not sure you would, but I have to say, I came away thinking I liked it even more than I liked it last week, and I liked it quite a lot last week. So
you did. Can we put any flesh briefly on the bones?
Well, I mean, it's not the reason I say that you probably won't is because the gags aren't wide and varied in that sense, but it still made me chuckle. There were still nice interchanges between all of the characters. The narrative moved on a little bit as well, and you learnt a little bit more about what was going on. For example, Daniel Mays had a software update, and he started using American words for things like hobo instead of tramp, and I can't think of any of the others, but it was that was a kind of running gag that went through it, and yeah, it was quite. I mean, it's tight. I like it. It's fast paced. It feels at times you forget you're watching a comedy and you feel like you're watching a police drama. and then they do something. You go, oh yeah, I'm back in the room, kind of thing with it. But yeah, both sides are equally enjoyable. But yeah, I came away liking it even more. Okay. So yeah, not bad. I should watch more.
Yeah, well, keep reporting back. Maybe not every week, but a summary will suffice.
Yeah, you've had enough now.
I'm genuinely pleased you enjoyed it. I don't go out there for you to agree with me. I mean, that's never going to happen. Well, it's occasionally going to happen.
I know. Anyway, you've had a good week, haven't you? You rotter. You went off to the theatre without me.
Yes, and you must be very envious because I saw The Pin, who are a comedy duo. I'm telling our dear listeners, just in case they haven't heard us, Slab, The Pin, which was, well, it's been, did you say 4 Radio 4 series?
4 series, yeah. 4, yeah. But only 4 episodes in the series, so it's kind of like, I always think that's a bit shorter, isn't it? Because normally it's 6, isn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, The Pin are Ben Ashenden and Alex Owen. I thought they were, I mean, I had fingers crossed for them, but last December, when it looked like we were heading for lockdown, they were heading for the West End stage. And I'm not sure the show ever actually made it to curtain up last December, but it most certainly did this year. Great news. Although, bad news for anyone who wants to toddle along and see it in the West End, their show, The Comeback. I saw it on its last day, I think. I mean, I can't stand this up, but my girlfriend told me, and she found, shall we say, good value tickets. But it's just great to be back inside a theatre.
Where was it? Which theatre was it at?
Oh, gosh, not the Noel Coward. Oh, it is the Noel Coward Theatre. Yeah. I got confused because it's Delfont Mackintosh Theatre, which is the chain that owns it, but Noel Coward Theatre.
Oh, how lovely.
Yes, darling, was it terribly? Was it terrible? I went there with my filters cigarette.
And because you went on your own, well, I mean, when I say on your own, you went without me. Yeah, you might as well have been on your own, just because you went with Alison. That's neither here nor there. But because you went on your own, the whole weight of the Mark set of tennies on your shoulders. So what would you have given it?
Oh gosh, now that's the thing. Definitely at least a 7. I think an 8, 7.5, 8. Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good. The only thing, I'll probably give a contradictory review. On the one hand, they're really funny in their if you like, the comfort zone of doing sketches. They were trying to stretch themselves, which is great. I mean, everyone should, but not always with complete success. They were also playing warm-up guys. They were warming up, as it were, for this other comedy pairing who'd been treading the boards for years.
Right.
And then I thought we were never going to see them. I thought the magic was going to be we were always just seeing them, and this other show was sort of pointed to, which can often be funnier when you don't actually see the thing they're talking about.
Yeah.
But then they become the older act. And, for very young guys, well, from where I'm standing in the timeline, to suddenly act old without any makeup or whatever, it's never going to be perfect.
Right.
So that didn't quite come off for me. But what I really admired was the pace of the thing. And they were constantly flipping. The curtain was down for every part of the show except the very end, which I won't spoil for anyone, but because they might take it on tour now. But we were constantly, as the audience, the perception was 1 minute you're in front of the curtain as an audience, and the next we are given a sort of backstage pass, as it were, and we flipped around. And sometimes they were even playing both sides at once, which is impossible for me to describe, but almost impossible to perform. But they did that really well. And then guest appearance by a certain Phil Wang, who, just a little sort of icing on the cake. Not that he had an awful lot of room to be Phil Wang, but when you've got the quality of someone like that, who's a bit of a name as a stand-up and ever increasing, and then he's just a bit part, that tells you just how good the show is, really, I think.
Right. Oh, nice one. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I mean, it's funny, I was just looking back to see The Pin when we slabbed it. It was episode 54 of the Comedy Slab, if you want to go back and listen to a couple of clips. Is it that long ago? I thought it was more recent. God. Yeah, probably 3 clips, actually. I would have thought if it's that long ago that we used to do.
Yeah. So, what to say about the Shuttleworths? which is actually the name of the series because there's more than one Shuttleworth. Well, Graham Fellows, of course, hit the charts back in, was it 78, 79 with, you will know, of course, Shane?
Jilted John, Gordon is a moron.
Indeed. And that was the first of, well, not that many hits as Jilted John, but I mean, it's a novelty act anyway. But before we get too far in, what I should do is ask you how you felt when I set this as the homework. I'm going to guess, I mean, it seemed a fairly warm response last week. Okay, I'm going to slightly tweak the question. Is there any nervousness you have now that the show might not quite be as good as you remember it?
See, I don't know. I've got a strange relationship with the John Shuttleworth stuff. In as much as I was never a hugely enthusiastic fan, but I would never turn away from it, as it were. But I wouldn't run towards it. Do you know what I mean? Am I making sense with that? You know, it's just...
Yeah, well, okay, here's the test, because I saw, it's really through an enthusiastic friend of mine who came from a similar part of the country as the fictional character John Shuttleworth, who is, you know, he's Mr. Ordinary in a way. Yeah. But this friend, Ian, fellow sound engineer when we were both at the Beeb together, as far as I know, he's still there, bless him. He would drag me along to the latest tour of John Shuttleworth, like the Austin Ambassador. I can't remember. Was it called the Y Reg Tour? Right. There was a song around that. Blah blah blah. So I saw Graham Fellows live in performance at least 3 times in the guise of John Shuttleworth and at least one other character as well. But you never saw him live. You weren't.
Yes,
that
I did.
Drawn.
Yeah, I did actually.
Okay.
Yeah, when I interviewed him, the reason I interviewed him was I think I was working at Derby, and I interviewed him because he was coming to the assembly rooms in Derby.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I went to the gig. I remember going to the gig, and I remember sitting in the gig and feeling somewhat detached because everybody else seemed to be more in on it than I was.
Yeah. They were fans, you were just present.
Exactly. And you always feel a little bit left out like that, don't you? You kind of think, oh, I'm not getting the most out of this because I haven't done my homework. So, but I've seen him live, and I like I say, I wouldn't come away dismissing it, but I wouldn't come away raving about it. So I'm kind of got a bit of neutrality when it comes to his work but erring on the side of, I still enjoy it. So I wasn't kind of pumped up and thinking, oh, great. And I wasn't thinking, oh, I hope it's not as, I hope it's as brilliant as I remember it, because I didn't remember it as brilliant. I just remembered it as kind of enjoyable.
Okay. I put too much of an assumption in my question. Forgive me. Right. Well, we've got not one, but 2 audio clips from said show and how to set the scene. Well, I've described him as Mr. Ordinary. I mean, the first time I listened to it, again, through the enthusiasm of my mate, Ian, what I thought was most remarkable and most noticeable about the show was, and this is the Radio 4 show, 15-minute episodes again, like Mandy, that almost nothing happened, or at least small things happen, and they are magnified in his perception and in his telling. So we'll hear him enjoy a bit of food in a moment, and you'll see that what you and I might think of as a fairly ordinary dish is somehow elevated, and it's given a different context. And that'll either drive you mad, or you'll see the charm in it and you'll be drawn in. So in this story, I just want to set the scene a bit, because my clip of the show comes around halfway through this 15-minute episode. So let's get you up to speed with what's been happening. And again, it's not car chases and nuclear weaponry or anything like that, or trips to outer space. It is John Shuttleworth having his alarm go off because it's time for tea, because he needs reminding every day he has tea at the same time, or has done up to now, with his wife Mary, who's also played by Graham Fellows. We don't hear her in these clips, but you will hear her in the show if you listen to the whole show. So he goes up to the loft, and I think he's on a mission to clear out. He's a little bit henpecked by Mary, and in the process of clearing out, the first time he goes up to the loft, he hears an old watch chiming the hour, or maybe just the alarm going off for what was then tea time. He can't find it on that occasion, and he gets on with clearing up. And this time he's gone back, committed to finding said watch, and he needs to locate it by the sound of it. And here we join him up in the loft, because this show is called Cough in the Loft.
Hello, you join me in the loft. The alarm hasn't gone off yet. Don't worry, you've not missed anything. It will do in about 2 minutes' time. Do I not run the risk of being late for my tea and upsetting Mary? Well, no, because with her full consent, I've got some sandwiches. Yeah, little packed tea, which I'm going to eat now, if I may, because I'm obviously a bit peckish, because it's my tea time. Cheese and piccalilli, and a little bit of lettuce. Obviously, as soon as I hear that alarm, I'll put down my sandwiches and concentrate on locating my watch. Blimey, it's early. Hang on, that's not my old watch. And it's coming from the bag I brought up yesterday. Oh, the drawstring. It's chafing my hands again. Here it is. Oh, this is Karen's Tamagotchi. Mary must have put it in by accident. I think it needs feeding.
Don't we all? There's something kind of disconcerting and slightly comedic about eating. My wife always used to say, don't. I hate it when you eat on the radio. Don't eat and talk. Like if we did a cooking segment or something like that, I used to get a mate who was a chef, and he'd do some stuff, and I go, and she go, God, can you not eat on the radio? It's just disgusting listening to people eat.
And still, she married you.
Yeah. She's. I think her options were slightly limited by that point. To be fair.
Well, can I just disabuse our listeners of that? She's a gorgeous woman, so I suppose opposites attract.
But something like that. But and there is something. Do you know? There is a. I'm trying to think about. And you hit the nail on the head a little while ago when you said that not a lot happens. And I thought, why does it seem to work when not a lot happens? Oh, I haven't given you the headline yet, have I?
Oh no, you haven't, and I haven't asked for it. So shall we do that now?
Yeah, let me before I give the game away. Don't let me Shuttleworth off this mortal core. So I like it.
I'm not quite sure though where that's coming from, but maybe I'm being a bit dense.
Shuttleworth off.
Yeah, okay, but don't let. But that's
don't let me. I don't want to die. I want to listen to it.
Living to hear it forever.
To hear it. God,
blimey. Oh, come on. You wouldn't see that on the front of the Sun.
Why did we start this in the first place? I don't know.
Well, I'm sure it's you that started it. But anyway, you hate Shakespeare. That's a Shakespearean reference. Gotcha.
I don't want to be jilted, John. Is that better?
Oh, are we going for multiple headlines every week now?
He's one of my favourite fellows.
Oh, so you've certainly been one round.
I'm just doing these off the top of my head. I'm just, So,
yeah, but do you actually mean it? There's no point doing it if you mean the opposite.
Oh, no, I just thought you had to just find some play on words. I didn't know it. No, I do, yeah. No, I'm because I've given 3, it sounds like I'm more enthusiastic than I am. But yeah, I do. I did enjoy it.
Well, I did enjoy it.
But like I was saying before, is that I'm trying to figure out why, when very little happens, that it is so captivating.
I think it's the old thing about in the telling, but it's also that is the character, isn't it? He has a very ordinary life. Now, I have to say, I take issue with Wikipedia's take on him, which calls him pathetic as a character.
No,
that's nonsense. No,
yeah, I don't know who wrote that, but they're reading it all wrong.
They don't get it.
I've got a different theory to yours, slightly different theory. And my theory is that I think that and I tell you where it hit the nail on the head was that when he said about, was there a point where he was saying about what time he has his tea? And And it struck a chord in me. I think there's a deep taproot of reality that runs through this. And I remember knowing and working with people and being friends with people who did that, who had their tea. I have to have my tea at 5:30 or whatever. And there were also the same kind of people who had, I don't know, chips on a Monday and pie
Fish
on a
Friday.
Tuesday, and chicken. Well, fish on a Friday is a religious thing, isn't it? So that's a Catholic thing more than anything. But
Doesn't excuse it.
It doesn't
Unless you're a Catholic.
It doesn't excuse you being a Catholic. You're not excused anything just because you're a Catholic, I'm afraid. And I knew people who did. They had kind of this. They wanted this structure to their life, and so what at first appears with John Shuttleworth to be something which is kind of outlandish. Lampooning or a really wildly drawn caricature suddenly sort of becomes very in sharp focus, becomes this person that you might actually know.
Well, I was trying to find, I'm not going to diss the whole of Wikipedia because it's vast. I mean, even on Graham Fellow.
They'll all come round and get you if you do as well. They've got to watch
well, there's a lot of them and there's only one of me.
Yes.
But it talks about his influences. Have you seen this about mouse breeders?
When you said a mouse breeder, I thought you said a mouth breather.
Mouth breather. Well, he might be that as well because he's a singer. Probably is. Anyway, look, there's one reference on this page to mouse. I've gone to the John Shuttleworth page. Well, I think these mannerisms feature in Jilty John and John Shuttleworth. But anyway, they come from Graham's father and from mouse breeders he knew as a young man in Sheffield. I could only quote what I have in front of me.
Right. Anyway, you haven't told us what you think yet. What do you think?
No, I haven't. I really enjoyed coming back to it. There is a problem with the second episode, and you'll be able to guess what it is because it reared its ugly head, according to you, if people believe your take on me. It reared its ugly head with Code 404 last week. So what would it be? What's the problem with the second episode we put on the slab, which is Chrome Alone?
Oh, this is where it got into the realms of fantasy for you.
Yeah. And I'm not sure that works, particularly with John Shuttleworth.
I told you, you've got a problem with fantasy.
Yeah,
I did tell you. You need to get in therapy for this and get it sorted.
Look, I think it's. I need a miracle worker for this. But look, John Shuttleworth, it's his very ordinariness. Look, it's exactly what we're talking about. Is what works, and then so to go off into Fantasyland. Look, I don't blame Graham Fellows because by then he'd probably churned out hundreds of hours or worked for thousands of hours on John Shuttleworth, and probably for his own sanity, he sort of gave Shuttleworth a day off, or at least he could defy the rules of gravity, as it were, in this one episode. And it probably is only the one. But anyway, other than that, I really enjoyed it. So I particularly enjoyed, of course, the cough in the loft. And it brought back very fond memories of first listening to it and just being amazed that I was gripped by almost nothing happening, which we've sort of previously touched on. And that is the genius of it. I can't see Hollywood coming calling. And indeed, to the best of my knowledge, it hasn't, or not for John Shuttleworth. I could see him as an actor, possibly, could have a part in a Hollywood film. I don't see him necessarily relishing it.
When I interviewed, actually, you could play a clip here if you wanted to, of me talking about Steve Coogan, because he was talking about Steve Coogan.
Oh yeah, let's do that. Because is he part of that circle?
Well, no, he wasn't. He was in the first thing that Coogan. Well, I say the first thing that he did. The first thing that he got commissioned a set of 6 one-off episodes called Coogan's Run. Should we have a listen?
Yeah, and let's hear you in doing proper grown-up steam radio as well.
You mentioned you were at drama college in Manchester. Well, I mean, were you knocking around the circuit at the same time as people like Steve Coogan? Were you? I suppose.
Well, he went to my drama school, but a few years later.
Right.
But I met him on the comedy circuit in Edinburgh Festival a few years later.
Did you ever think he was going to be the huge star that he appears to be now? Because I remember seeing Coogan years ago, 20 years ago, on Granada TV, doing impressions on their evening magazine programme, and thinking, who is this bloke? He's dreadful. And of course, he blossomed into this incredible character comedian. I mean, did you ever think he was going to be as big as he was?
Yeah, because I saw the show that he did at the Edinburgh Festival when I first did my show, and he just pipped me to the Perrier Award. Him and John Thompson beat me by 1 vote apparently, but
but you're not bitter, are you?
But I'm not bitter, no, because it was he works very hard. I mean, I don't know about now. He lives in Hollywood, doesn't he?
Yeah. Apparently, well, if you read the papers, he does. I mean, I don't know. 80 million quid's worth. Or so. I don't know. But there you go. But just 1 vote, and it could have been you, couldn't it, Graham?
And I bet we have worked together. We did. He did a series called Coogan's Run, and I played a CD manager of a nightclub that he was in.
Yeah, particularly unscrupulous character, as I recall.
Yes, I was a bit like that, bit Bernard Manning. Bit like that. Mike.
And the thing about listening back to yourself like that, it always sounds like helium's been pumped into the room, doesn't it?
I was just wondering, is that your posh telephone voice?
Yes, it is. I kind of became very self-conscious of my Birmingham accent. I just come from a Birmingham radio station. And I'm very sort of self-conscious, and that's what that is. That's a combination of kind of me probably being a bit new at it as well.
Fantastic to hear that, and I'm really envious of you getting a chance to interview him. And also, hats off to you for asking him to step out of character first, and then doing it in that order as well. Very, very showbiz.
It wasn't that. It was I kind of always thought, what did I want to hear? And I always, I thought people would want to hear the real man. It's interesting because this did bring up a lot of my mind was racing as I was listening to it, thinking, how is he doing? What's this all? How's this all been done? And particularly in the second episode when it's the little boy, certainly, but with Mary, is quite obviously his voice speeded up.
Yeah.
So that then provides its own challenges because that would have to be done in isolation, wouldn't it?
I was just thinking that, and I think this is certainly before the days of really whizzy digital audio software. I got a feeling, I can't swear that it was completely analog, but I think it was much more sort of tape-based so he couldn't easily, as we can now, move stuff around and stretch it. And I mean, the Beatles producer, George Martin, bless him, rest his soul, said sound is now like plasticine, that you can mould it. And
I started in radio. I started at the Great Purple Mill in Birmingham in 2001, something like that. And then we were still heavily into tape then. I learned to edit on tape. I didn't learn to edit on digitally. And it was only just starting to come in 2002, 2003, I think, at the BBC.
Yeah. Well, the Beebs, as we know, not always in the cutting edge of these things. But I think it's great to have had you grounding in that. Anyway, look, before we go completely down memory lane, this is another episode, as I say, Chrome Alone. And I've taken this, it's almost taking a leaf out of your book, Shane. I've taken this clip virtually from the very top of the show. In fact, I think it is totally from the top of the show. And so it will set the scene for us with the second character arriving as well as John.
Come through, Ken.
Yes.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
Please be seated, Ken. No, not on the settee, Ken.
Oh.
I'd like to sit on this easy chair.
What for?
Well, it's been positioned deliberately.
Deliberately?
To be in the centre of the stereo picture.
Oh, I see.
You bang in between the speakers, Ken, of my new stereo system, which is why I've asked you to come round this morning.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to hear it to optimum effect.
Right. I'm sorry, can I just stop you there, John?
Yes, you can, Ken. Yes, go on.
I'm a bit deaf in my left ear. Don't know if that changes anything.
It does, Ken. Thanks for telling me that. Yes, I'm going to have to move the chair. If you just stand up, please, Ken.
Yes, sorry.
And move the chair a little bit further to the left, closer to that speaker.
No, hang on, it's the other ear. I'm deaf in. I think it is.
Ken.
I'm not sure now.
Well, I need to know which one.
Oh.
He's as bad as you, isn't it, when it comes to stereo fields and God knows. Oh my God.
You thought I was dull.
Yeah, I thought you were anal about it, but blooming it, he's even worse. It's interesting. I made in my notes, and I don't know whether it was. I've lost it again now, so I don't know if it was this week. I think it was the other episode. Oh yeah, it was. Straight out the bat, he references. He said, "Oh, it's 5 to 5, but it's not crackerjack."
Oh yeah.
And I thought that's interesting because that almost kind of dates the audience then, doesn't it?
I was going to say, you wouldn't get that reference. That used to be the beginning of a children's show many moons ago for you lucky youngsters listening.
Yeah, and then he goes on to talk about in this episode to talk about oxide shredding of tapes and chrome tapes, and again, all stuff that cassette tapes. There's a whole generation now who haven't really got a clue, wouldn't recognise one if they saw it.
No, but as you would always say, what would you say, Shane?
What would I say? What?
Oh, Google it.
Yeah, Google it, of course. Yeah, Google it. But you know what I mean? It's interesting how even as it was written, it was almost kind of dating itself.
Yeah. Well, I think it was thickening on the character as being of a certain age. Being a fictional character, he can always be in his late 50s. It doesn't matter how many years go past. Although it's up to Graham Fellows, of course, if he wants to age him in normal human years. So... yeah, that's not a problem, is it?
No, not at all. I just thought it's quite interesting that you do that. I think without even knowing, don't you? Because that's your reality. That's what you know. In the same way that in this episode there were kind of like little comedy footsteps that he put in.
Oh yeah.
And I tell you what it put it on. I'm raising my notes. I tell you what it put me in mind of was Michael Bentine's Potty Time. And I looked to see how old he is, and he's kind of about the right age to be influenced by that. And I do wonder how much of that aspect of his work is influenced by that kind of comedy.
And we'd have to widen it out to the Goons.
Yes, yeah, before
Michael Bentine and all of that.
What did you think of Ken, the character Ken, and the voice characterisation of that? Did that bother you at all, or?
Well, I can't say, Shane. I'm not really sure. Sometimes it annoys me. Other times I think it's kind of cute.
He does like this murmuring thing as well, doesn't he, when he's not talking?
I don't know, does he? I was ad-libbing. I've missed that. Have I missed a murmur? That's not good.
And I kept hearing it because I was listening on headphones. I kept hearing. I thought, what is that? And it's the Ken character.
Well, I was just thinking. There's a lot of that, but there's also John Shuttleworth goes. There's all that, and that again, I don't think that's scripted, but it is part of character, and it made me think actually of all people of Woody Allen. Who, if you listen to his early, well, I know you will have done, his 1960s stand-ups before he became a film sensation. Fantastic material.
Keep the kid, throw the gun out.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't need a
I thought I was home from college that weekend. I was kidnapped once.
Yeah.
One of the opening lines, or the opening noises of Woody Allen, is a huge round of applause because he's just taking off as an act, getting well known on TV, doing all the chat shows, which are up there on YouTube. Fantastic interviews if you've ever taken time to look at that. And I know there's all kind of controversy around him, but if it's possible, maybe it isn't for you, maybe it isn't longer term for any of us, but if you could park that to one side, you could see the sparkle in the eye, and he's so quick-witted. And a one-off. But one of the first things he does, apart from acknowledging the applause, but he just says thank you. It's an audio take, so we don't know what he's doing visually. But he then goes, and it's a nervous cough. And no one is telling me that that's not totally deliberate and totally in the character of his stage persona as a stand-up act.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly the same about Graham Fellows and the depth of his characterization, and I think you have to. The more you listen, if you listen to the same episode over and over again, I think you'd hear something more in the depth that he's drawn the character. And I think he's really. I think there is an element as well that he's lived with John Shuttleworth for a long, long time. And
so it's 1986 here. I didn't realise it went that far back.
Yeah, and that helps, doesn't it? That's got to help in terms of knowing your character is that you've been together a very long time.
You might want to divorce each other at times, I would think.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what did you make? I mean, because you don't have obviously the problems I have with fantasy. How did you cope with that second episode without giving too much away?
I mean, it didn't trouble me at all, really. I mean, when he goes off on flights of fantasy, I mean, it almost is an antidote to how mundane the rest of it is. And perhaps that's why he wants to do it, is there are times when he thinks I need to kind of break out of this, the minutiae of John Shuttleworth's everyday life and just spread his wings a little bit. Maybe that's part of that, but it didn't. It doesn't give me the same problem. I'm prepared. I think I'm more prepared. I'm not dissing you, but I think I'm more prepared than you to go with it and just go, oh, okay, we'll see where it goes, kind of thing. It was my favourite episode out of the two was the first one. Yeah, I'll be honest with you, and probably because of that. But yeah, I'm quite prepared to go with it. I got to mention, and I read an article, which I think was in your favourite journal of truth, The Guardian.
Yeah, which I believe every last word of it.
Saying something about how he'd done so much for the Bontempi organ, and I thought, you Philistine, that you don't even know that it's actually a Yamaha PSS 680 that he's playing, which is far from a Bontempi.
Idiot.
Although
Idiots.
it's aimed at the kids market, I think, or it was originally. But when adults got their hands on it, because of its different functions that it had, people just loved it. And if you go on YouTube now, there are like people singing the praises of the PSS 680 and how good it is.
Yeah, and you have the cheek to call me a nerd. If you're that much of a nerd, what does PSS stand for?
But my I've no idea. I don't even know what Yamaha stands for. I don't think they stand for a lot, to be honest with you. I don't think you can mess them about that much.
Okay.
But my point is that Bontempi wasn't at the vanguard of cutting edge musicality, and so it's a bit of an insult, really, in a way. And to suggest that the way the sounds that he puts together are just like a cheap pastiche, I thought was a little bit disingenuous, really. But the thing with and I always think this rescues him if you're kind of drifting away from liking it, is that his musicality is second to none. I think he's just fabulous. The stuff that he writes, so clever, so musical. I
am going to sound like a Guardian reader now, but I didn't write that article. But there's a hell of a lot of send up in it, though, isn't there? I don't. Maybe I should go back and hear more sophistication. But to me, that's not the point anyway. Again, it's the ordinariness of the lyrics. Before we hit record, I was just recalling the fantastic line, and it's got to be a one-off from John Shuttleworth. Tuna chunks in brine and tuna chunks in brine. It's so good, he repeated it.
Yeah.
Now, you can't see Bryan Adams doing that or Bryan Adams doing that.
Bryan Adams, yeah.
And you were quoting something. Has that gone now, or can you recall?
No, obviously the one that he played for me was "I Can't Go Back to Savoury Now." Which
and isn't the story that he's mid dessert, so he can't go into reverse to eat some of the savoury that's left over?
Yeah, I mean, he started his pudding when his daughter leaves some of the cottage pie, and his wife Mary says, "Would you like the cottage pie?" And he said, "Well, I can't go back to savoury now," and you can't.
No, he's right.
I mean, it's founded in a basic truth, isn't it? That once you've been acclimatised to sweet, you can't go back to savoury now.
If I didn't know you better, I'd think you were being ever so slightly tongue in cheek. But
no. Well, it depends whether it's pudding on my tongue in cheek.
Pudding in cheek, yeah. Okay, well, we could put off the evil hour no longer. It must be time for the scores on the doors. Shall I go first?
Can I just mention before you do? And you're like
as John Shuttleworth would say.
Yeah.
Can you see what you're saying?
It was actually, it is a BBC Radio 4 production, but it was actually made by, or he's got a production company, it's called Chic Ken, which he runs, or he's a director of, with his wife Miriam.
Is this coming from Company's House by any chance?
Yeah, and a guy called Richard Bucknell. Now, Richard Bucknell has got a company called Richard Bucknell Management, he's actually Graham's agent.
Right, so he's the real Ken.
Yes. And he's got a company called RBM, and they were the company that recently sacked Andrew Lawrence because there were allegations that his tweets were racist. It's a small world, isn't it? But yeah, I just thought I'd mention that.
That's the world of comedy, yeah. Okay, thank you for doing the extra digging around. Now shall I give my mark out of 5?
You just sound like you're being dismissive now, so go on, yes.
I just want to move it along.
Do what you want.
Finish before sundown. Oh, no, it's too late for that.
For Sunday.
They say leave them wanting more. I think we leave them wanting less every week. But we never heed it. We're just doing it for ourselves.
All you got to do is, because you're editing it this week, aren't you? So just go back and edit my spoon solo out. And you'll be
now you've referenced it. They'll all want it because it's the only time you've ever done your tribute to Clive Dunn.
They'll be going back and going, did I hear the spoon solo? Was it in? Did it make the cut?
Did I fall asleep during that segment? Yeah. Anyway, I'm giving it 4 out of 5, a whopping 80%.
Wow.
Which regular listeners will know is pretty damn generous for me. It's obviously not 100%, but got to leave something in reserve. Huge respect for his talent, his technical talent as much as his performing and writing and ad-libbing talent.
Love it.
4 out of 5.
I'm not going to muck about. It's a 3 from me.
You are mucking about. I thought you'd give it a bit more.
3 out of 5. No, I'd give it. 2.5 is the pass mark, isn't it? It's the benchmark. It's the middle.
Well, yours, not mine. But
middle ground. You're
just
a
tightwad.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, it's the other side of that. So it's a 3 out of 5. I'm not sure how much of it I could stand if being the completist that I am, and it's very gentle, but I just wonder whether it also has enough substance. But I mean, 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5 is not bad, is it?
Well, from you, I guess not. Now you're giving your excuses. And that does make a 7 out of 10, 70% total between the two of us. So, excellent. Onwards and sideways, upwards, downwards. What are you offering us on the Slab of Comedy next week, Shane?
All right, I'm going with here's a weird thing to do. I'm going with a sequel to something that we haven't slabbed.
That is weird.
It is weird. But it is a kind of standalone sequel, and kind of works in its own right. Has only 2 of the characters that were, one was a main character from the first series, and one was a kind of peripheral character from the first series. And I wonder if you're getting any closer. It's a Channel 4 thing. I think it went out on Channel 4 in the UK.
I'm not getting it so far. Do we know roughly what year?
Oh, I don't. I can tell you the lead character hasn't been performing for a while and had a lot of people worried because they thought he wasn't very well. But he's a massive, massive stand-up. I mean, when he does his stand-up, he sells out big styly. He's also done a double header with a young lady where they're in a motor vehicle.
Peter Kay. I nearly said Peter Kay from the first clue.
Yeah.
Now I was thinking Billy Connolly hasn't been well for some time now. But Peter Kay. And is that called Carpool?
That was Carpool. But the one we're looking for is the sequel to his
is it the nightclub thing?
Yeah, it's the first one was called Phoenix Nights. Can you remember what the sequel was called, the spin-off?
No, I'm not sure if I saw it. But if you mention it, I will know instantly if I did see it.
Okay, well, it's called Max and Paddy's Road to Nowhere.
Oh, is there something about him in an ice cream van, or maybe that's not a regular? Right.
They're on a road trip. They go. The two of them go off because Max and Paddy were the bouncers at the Phoenix Nights club.
Right.
I'm sounding like I'm some kind of aficionado. I think I've only ever seen both of them once. So,
gosh, turning into a Unitarian like me.
I know. So, episode 1 of a 6-parter, Max and Paddy's Road to Nowhere for next week.
Was there only the one series? Do we know?
Yes, there was. Yeah.
Right. So we're getting in at the ground floor. Max and Paddy's Excellent Adventure. Now, what is it? Max and Paddy's Road to Nowhere. Doesn't matter how many times you say it. Super. Thank you very much for that. Well, I'm thanking you now. I hope I'll be thanking you this time next week. Anyway, okay, so on anti-social media, is it time for me to do that? Or have I woken up too soon? Do follow us on anti-social media in the form of Twitter. We are at Comedy Slab. We are followed by no lesser act than The Pin. So that's how good our Twitter feed is. And also, we are at Comedy Slab, our Facebook page. Do like that and follow us on the previous. And also, recommendation to friends and family, famous people as well, if you like the pin. And what else? Nice, juicy star rating on Apple Podcasts / iTunes, and a little bit of a comment if you can run to a few words, saying in no less than 25 words why you enjoy the show. Not forcing your hand up your back at all.
No. If you know 25 words, obviously, I mean that's always a help.
You can repeat some.
Can I put you? Okay. Can I put you on the spot this week and do something slightly different to finish off the podcast?
Yeah.
Could you? Because I enjoyed it so much, and I really did. I'm not taking the mick. I thought it was excellent. Could you just round everything up and finish off in the style of Ken Worthington for us?
Well, I'm not sure I've got the skills, John or Shane. But well, I'm your sole agent, so I suppose one day we'll hit the big time.